Hey there, how's it going? Sort of check the audio. Looks like it's all right. So, what should I talk about today? What's the title? Open to ideas. That was one that I quite like talking about. Had a friend this week actually, kind of discussing some stuff, and I get a bit. What's the word? Direct. Is direct the word? I get a bit direct in my dialogue sometimes. I know I do that. I kind of do it on purpose, if I'm honest. Anyway, I was being quite direct in my opinion that I had formed of what he had told me. And I've known this guy for tens of years, not just recently, you know. So I got a reasonable amount of history to pull from. And so I was being reasonably direct with my feedback and telling him I think he's the problem and he's the one who needs to fix himself because he was, in my opinion, was blaming everyone else for his situation. So then I went back at him and sort of suggested, you know, if you want me to help you some more with it, with some more feedback, or and some and maybe some detailed information about changes I've made to myself that you may find enlightening and maybe consider. It makes no difference to me whether you do it or not, right? Like anything. His response was, as the title of this video was, basically, "I'm always open to ideas, bigSHow. I look forward to us discussing further." So that in itself is a interesting term, right? You know, I think about this with a lot of terms. So I'm open to ideas, and I can say that too, right? But when we say we're open to ideas, we're implying something that to be open to ideas implies that uh, I'm going to listen. So there's listening, hear the words you say or the the narrative that you explain, correct, or the material that you show or describe the situation, which may be based on me or based on someone else. So it implies you're going to listen to that with an open mind, apparently. And then it implies to me, when you say you're open to ideas, is that you're actually going to digest the idea. You're then going to, I don't know, execute some of it, plan and prepare and use it, or disregard some of it, but use some of it, maybe, right? It implies more from the statement of I'm open to ideas. You with me? So just the fact that you say that you're open to ideas doesn't make it true. Doesn't mean that you are open to ideas. How's that? So if I assert that, oh, I'm open to ideas, doesn't mean I am. Correct? Because this has been going on for tens of years. My advice hasn't changed. I've delivered it different ways. I've done a lot of it. I'm a product of it. And when you say you're open to ideas, the ideas haven't changed from a lot of things, right? And an overweight person, and we want to talk about losing weight, it's not often that they say, oh, I'm open to ideas. You're open to ideas. The ideas are pretty well freaking known. No? Maybe if you're 6 years old, the idea could be new, or 10 years old, 12 years old, or you've lived in a freaking cage or a cave. You might not have the ideas and be 30, you know, really. So I guess I get a bit, and I'm using that as a relative format, right? So I call them out on that narrative to get the it gets the brain going, in my opinion. When you say something that you don't do, that you say you're going to do, but you have no evidence that you've done it. And any evidence that you bring forward is your evidence, which doesn't mean it's evidence. You with me? And that's a lot of what I spend time doing, is examining my evidence and looking to prove it wrong or right, whichever one. I don't have to prove I don't have to prove it wrong or right, but it makes more sense to. That's why I like numbers, right? A number is a reference. If you ignore the number, it takes out. Oh well, it's emotionless. It doesn't have your bias in it. You know, I stand on a scale that weighs me. It says a number. That's a number. It doesn't care that you said you've been working on yourself. I've been trying to lose weight. I've been trying to do these things. There's the result. So we have a result, or a number. Then we have a timeline. So I have a number today. You weigh that much. Whatever the number is, it makes no difference. You check that the measuring device that you've got, the number is the number, and then you weigh yourself again after some time, and you compare the two numbers. That's called evidence, or a result. Now, even those have stories behind them. That's your basic premise, right? We use that in all areas. So why do we fall short in other areas of measuring these things? Apparently, you can't measure this in relationships. That's not true. Apparently, you can't measure it in spirituality. That's not true. You know, if it's not measurable, why fuck around with it? You know, you got enough you got enough stuff in your head that you're lying about, let alone having to think about stuff that's not measurable, right? So yeah, so we had a bit of a, that's just my opinion on that statement. Uh, you know, you'll find, or do you agree with that, right? The premise is open to ideas. I'm open to ideas insinuates that you're going to listen, that you're going to take it on board, that you're going to apply it to some method, and maybe monitor it and do it consistently over a period of time and work out whether it worked for you or not, right? But no, that's not what people do, is it? That's too much. That's too hard. That requires change. That requires um, some emotional baggage to work on. That requires some mental adjustments. That requires feelings of loss, feelings of feelings of less, feelings of going without, feelings, all this feelings based bullshit, right? It's not a straight line. The numbers don't give a fuck, but you'll find reasons that you're not going to do it. Some of my other videos, you'll find there's 10 fucking good reasons to do something, and there's one obscure, remote thing to continue to do it, and that's enough for you to justify continuing to do it, right? And it happens all the time. Being open to ideas insinuates that, and then we have how we're able to sit here, and even myself, how I'm able to sit here and give a scenario about somebody else, and I'm doing the same thing. You know, calling someone fat, and I have fat, and I'm fat. I can digest how fat the guy is or person and go on and on about it, but I'm carrying some fat, and I'm not totally okay with how I am. It's bizarre. Yet we will talk about them, about how they're lesser. It's always about talking lesser of someone else, right? It seems to be the crux of my observation, and I'm not immune to it. You know, I think, and I call myself a god. I think it's a positive affirmation for me. Do I think everyone's lesser than me? Probably. Uh, but the reality is they're not. The truth is they're not lesser than me. We're the same, right? But I find affirmations motivate me and serve a purpose, you know. And I'm not meaning to come across that I'm better than anyone else. I'm not meaning it, even though my dialogue might speak of it. It's more from a basis of it tunes my mind in to a level of accountability, right? So it supports me. I use this one. I have a ceiling of expectation and dreams and where I want to do what I want to do in life. Say I have a ceiling of it. It's right up here, and I'm here. And whether I get all the way up there actually doesn't matter. It got me moving from here, right? It's that movement that I'm interested in, you know, because even if I move and I get to there in my analysis and my summary and my awareness enough to educate myself enough to see what changes has justified me to be from here and risen a bit, that takes measuring and accountability and consistency and all that sort of stuff. And then I still have the ceiling here. So even if that has a timeline, so if I have a timeline of a week to achieve that, I want to achieve that in a week. As the week continues on and I get to here, now we're here. Well, that hasn't happened, but I had movement from here to here. You with me? So anything that encourages movement and accountability and encouraging consistency on habits that I have ascertained to be the current norm, you know. So, like what I choose to eat, I don't eat these food groups. I eat these food groups, and then how much of these food groups do I eat, and what motivates me to now reduce that food group or manipulate it a bit more is part of these affirmations I do. So they go together. They complement my goal setting. They complement my milestones. They complement my measuring tools, and they encourage emotion into for me to relook at things that I probably would have just been either ignorant to or would have let myself off with, right? Um, and without and that all gets converted into some numbers. So every one of my thing has numbers attached to it, or some type of graph, or some type of system to have a measurement of that, and they become symptoms of the change, right? And so I have symptoms of now. You know, if you take medication, that medication was to solve some symptoms. You reduce the medication, the symptoms were there. You start dealing with the problem, the symptoms change, don't need the medication. Simple as that, right? Same logic. So, thinking about that, it's almost like the medical industry, or the pharmaceutical industry is built on um, built on working on symptoms rather than working on the problem. Correct? You know, I know my dad goes to the doctors. He gets told the three questions every frickin' time. How much do you eat? How much do you drink? How much exercise? You know, he, he, he fails all those three. You know, he's got these symptoms. He's come in with a symptom that he's got. He's taking this much medication for that. Didn't change any of these things. Didn't change your diet. Didn't change your freaking exercise. Didn't those are your two. There's not many. Didn't fuck. Not dealing with those. All right. So what we'll do is we'll up the medication to deal with the symptom of whatever ailment you have. Correct? And the cupboard just grows and grows and grows, but these stay the same. You know, he'll go out drinking. He'll go out eating heavy food. He'll whichever. You know. And it's funny, I get challenged on that even. I even challenge myself on it. How do we I guess that's back to the open to ideas thing, right? I've just said it there. If that person said to me they were open to ideas, you'd be going, "Oh fuck, doesn't sound like it." The doctors told you this. These other 1,000 people probably suggested the same thing. The whole medical profession has suggested the two things to do. Then, so you're not open to ideas. So don't use that. I just don't want to do what's required. Then here's the result. So it's freaky, right? Because then builds in what I call adaptation. I love it. Like climate change, you just adapt. We don't solve the problem. Fuck that. We'll adapt. It's going to be hotter. Sweet. Take more clothes off. Get bigger air conditioners. You know, it's the same thing. You know, we're we're not we're not open to ideas because that's too hard. It's too hard to do. Oh, okay. So the new idea, open to new ideas, meant as long as it's not things that I'm already doing. As long as I don't change what I'm doing, then I'm very fucking open. I'm open to staying the fucking way I am. That's what I'm open to doing. Hey, I'm being there. And even on that statement, right? That's where I could be now. Am I open to change? Am I open to new ideas? I think I am. Because I've executed and actioned a lot of the ideas that have been in front of me. And I have detailed graphs and reports and measurements and things to show it. That's all I. So if anyone says to me that they've changed, show me the evidence, just like I'll do. All I have is that. I don't have people say it. Other people said it. They can say whatever the frickin' hell they want. I'll write out a list depending on the subject matter that we think. As I've mentioned, I was 131 kilos. It's a fact. It was a measuring system. And now I'm about 90 something, 92 or something. So that's something there. Okay, that's cool. Some particular weight loss. Had I chopped one of my legs off? No. There's ways to lose more weight, right? Oh, I lost a lot of weight. What happened? I lost one of my legs. Oh, fuck, well done. So weight isn't the only answer. Is it fat? Probably. You know, I wasn't a 132 freaking bodybuilder. I'll tell you that much. All right. You know, and then the list keeps going, right? From exercise, from what can you do in exercises, what can you, whatever measurement systems you've got, you were doing that, you're now doing that. There's your list. I can give you a list of if we're talking medication, that's a good one. Those were symptoms. I used to have a Ventolin inhaler. Had it for freaking 20 years. Ask me today, it's been about, I've got it logged, a year and a half. I have zero. I have zero medication. That was the only bit of medication I ever had. I don't have Disprins or aspirins or fuck it. There's cough medicine. I haven't had cough medicine for 15 years. I haven't been vaccinated. I haven't been, except for when I think I was 12 at high school, whatever those were. At those stages, I've had those. I don't have a flu shot every year. I haven't had any of those. I'll probably get fucking sick now or drop dead, right? That's what I've always said. You know, my wife doesn't believe it. No, well, she believes it because she lives it and sees it. But I know when you say it out loud, it's kind of like no one can be like that. I know other people would say you've probably forgotten that you were sick once. Yeah, okay. Well, I left the company and I had the maximum sick days allowed. I just I just keep going to work. I actually quite like the job. That helped. Don't get me wrong. I might feel a bit down on some days, like energy wise, or might have a bit of a sniffle in my nose or something, but nothing that's bedridden me, if you like. I do recall 10 or 12 years ago having a bit of a migraine, a bit of a headache a couple of times. I do recall that, you know. Uh, I've never broken a bone or even fractured. I've torn muscles in trainings and workouts and sports. I don't know. And look, I'm not trying to say I'm better than anyone else. I'm saying that's my evidence. That's all I've kind of got towards, you know. But in saying that, my diet was totally different only 3 years ago. So prior to that, I wasn't being sick. I was eating biscuits, chips, takeaways, all the stuff. I was 100 and mid 125, 130 kilos, eating every freaking thing. I still wasn't being sick. So what does that actually mean? You know, I just thought to myself logically as a human, it's probably not smart being that weight. You know, it's like a dog, right? It's probably not smart that the dog's overweight. The frame and the body that it's doing, fighting gravity. I'm not sure it makes sense. And those types of things kind of got me motivated to look at it that way rather than a lot of it was ego based. I actually like being bigger and the truth was I like doing all the things I was doing as well. I freaking love chocolate and ice cream and biscuit. I think about those every day actually. I still do. Weird. But it's not as strong in my head now these days. Not as strong. Still there. So yeah. So that was an interesting one. I thought I would share with you you idiots. You even do it with finances. I measure how much I had 5 years ago. Prior to that, I've been broke. I've been in debt. I've been all those kind of horrible ignorance, rather ignore it stuff. Yet I thought I was the man, wandering around like I knew it all. Well, let's look at the evidence, and I do this to a lot of people now. Tell me your financial situation, you know, and it needs more than that, right? Tell me your financial situation and the history to, in your opinion, how you've established yourself to that position. You know, if I inherited $1 million, that's a different story to how I've progressed to $1 million. You know, don't get me wrong. You could inherit $2,000, and you now have $1 million. That's freaking good evidence. Uh, there's no point saying I have $1 million in the bank, but you earn 7 million a year, right? For 10 years, like a sports person or someone famous, you'd be going, well, you'd be thinking, oh, he's got $1 million. Well done. You won't get well done out of me if you've been earning $7 million a year. Correct. So accountability and justifying your numbers is just great. It's so much better. You know, if you earn $7 million a year, I'd expect to see after taxes and everything and you live within your means, a number. Show me that number. And did you hit that number? Probably not. Who knows? Whatever. You know. So just because you're skinny doesn't mean you're healthy. Or just because if you're in good shape, probably leads there, but give us the evidence. What else is going on? You can be genetically really well suited, you know. A lot of those you see dogs that they look lean. A horse can be look really in good shape. It eats the same food, does the same stuff. Does that mean it's evidence to hard work and done a lot of things to get there? Well, it's genetically, when you're talking genetics, it went a long way, you know. But if you genetically got to here, it's like people with talent and stuff. You genetically got some talent. You extended that. You went from there and you've gone up. That's freaking brilliant. But if you're genetically, you know, really fortunate or genetically at a state, I don't look at that and go, I think it's fortunate for you, but I don't look at that as going, well done. You know, I look at that and say, yeah, fuck, you done really well. I just don't. I go, wow, he's done that, and now look what he's done. What's the work he's done from it? He can be genetically awesome or done genetically at this sort of frame or whatever, and then you show the history and the records to get yourself to this sort of shape. That's the same thing. Inherit so much, got given something. So it's not all there. But if you inherit $1 million and you have $1 million, it doesn't mean you used it poorly. You might have just used it to survive and keep you going relatively normal. Well, that's cool. That'd be smart and all that sort of stuff. But not sure about whether I'd follow your advice. To give me advice on how you got there. Not sure that holds that value the same, you know. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my cast for today. Kind of said enough. Bit of a short version.